Did you know zoos hold around 780,000 animals in its facility? Now, let's imagine that the animals were you and me, and we were shoved into those tiny little spaces with everybody having to watch us be uncomfortable and live our lives. I don't know about you, but I would be very, very uncomfortable and super stressed. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, is why zoos should be banned because of the stress, the harm, and the environment that the zoo has for the animals. So first, I'm going to talk about the harm aspect. And the animal that gets the most harmed in zoos are lions and tigers, which are known as big cats. So big cats are prone to be found in very illegal areas called roadside zoos. So very unregulated, like zoos. I wouldn't even call them zoos. They're just like petting zoos, really. And they just are like fenced in, probably the size of my room. And I couldn't imagine being in my room forever, letting everybody see me. So that's why they are the most harmed, and because they are very easy for people to buy from foreign websites and live in their homes. So I found an article that says roadside zoos are uncredible facilities that prioritize profit over animals' health, and confining big cats to small barren cages, often the case in private homes, takes a significant toll on their physical and psychological well-being. Alicia, sorry if I butchered this name, Prygoski says that in her article, and I completely agree with that. Like, imagine having a huge cat bigger than me walking around in your house, getting into stuff, eating stuff, and they're also not getting the same amount of nutrients that like the wildlife could get them. Like, imagine someone would have to be very rich to keep up with a big cat's appetite. They eat a lot of very meats. Meats are not cheap, so that's how they get harmed, is because people just abuse them and they don't take care of them, and they just leave them on the side of the road, or they illegally handle them, and we cannot have that. Then the next one is stress. Penguins are a very good example of this. Whenever penguins are stressed, they huddle up, and it's a sign of stress, and it's because zoos unable to get the correct environment as the Antarctica or somewhere cold that they're normally at, and in the Antarctica there's nobody there to watch them, so they're obviously already on edge, and I feel like zoos just don't get it that cold, so they like huddle up. So then I found a article that talks about the penguins and their behaviors, and it says these behaviors indicate of fears such as huddling, vigilance, and avoidance toward zoo visitors, says Samantha, I'm going to butcher this again, Chu. So obviously they would be stressed because they're not used to people even seeing them in the Antarctica, because who's going to visit the Antarctica in cold places? No one's going to see that. So I just think that's not okay for animals to be stressed whenever they didn't ask for that stress level. That's what I'm saying. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the environment that zoos have. And I said that a lot during this. I don't agree with the environment that zoos give them, which is small cages or not up to par like climates and just landscape and scenery. And a good example of the environment zoos create is actually a really sad story that happened a few years ago in Ohio. And there was a gorilla in Ohio, and a little boy got into his cage, and the gorilla didn't know any better, and he was like tossing him around, and they ended up having to put down the gorilla, which a lot of people had some stuff to say about that. And in this article I found, people said it's unfair to take animals out of their natural habitats where they have unlimited space to roam. Studies suggest that certain animals can become frustrated in zoo enclosures, and animals need a lot of space to roam. Zoo enclosures are tiny compared to the space animals would have in the wild. And that was by Scholastic News. And I completely agree with that. Like I said, I think you and me would both go crazy if we were locked into this room, not being able to see the world. Like, I would go crazy too. And it's not their fault. It's a wild animal. They don't know what they're doing. They're just being an animal. And that's another reason why zoos should be happening, because the environments that the zoo creates for danger for both animals and humans. That being said, I hope you know how I feel about the zoos and why they should be banned, because no animal deserves to be treated like that. And I think if roles were switched, there would definitely be something being done. And that's it. Thank you.